Welcome to the Mearns History Group video channel. Now, just where is Mearns? Well, Newton Mearns, to give it its full name, is a suburban area 7 miles south of Glasgow. At one time, not all that long ago, it was just a quiet rural village. Housing development started in the 1950s and have continued to do so ever since, changing the face of the area forever. In our videos, we hope to show you something of what life used to be like in Newton Mearns.
Mearnskirk Hospital was opened in 1929. Originally owned by Glasgow Corporation, it was built to cope with the large numbers of people suffering from tuberculosis, which at the time was rife in the city. It became primarily a children's hospital with many young patients confined to long stays. In the early days, before treatment with antibiotics became available, suitable treatment was thought to be by providing patients with plenty of fresh air. Mearnskirk, at that time being surrounded by open countryside, was an ideal choice. Dr. John Wilson, OBE, was the first superintendent of the hospital. He was a highly popular man, and particularly so with the children, to whom he liked telling the story of Peter Pan. It was his wish to have erected in the hospital grounds a statue to Peter Pan. He mentioned this to his friend Alfred Ellsworth, a Glasgow businessman who was a frequent benefactor to Mearnskirk Hospital. In 1946, Dr. Wilson died, and Mr. Ellsworth set about organising funds for the project from benefactors and fundraising events. From the results of this, he was able to commission Alexander Proudfoot, a noted sculptor, to start on the work of designing and making the statue. Part of this work involved first making a scale model of the statue. Eventually, the great day came when the work of erecting the statue in the grounds began. The work of building the plinth and erecting the statue was entrusted to Thorne Campbell, a well-known name within the construction industry. Soon invitations were being sent out to the unveiling of this memorial to Dr. Wilson. On a fine summer's day, on the 3rd of July 1949, large crowds of guests gathered in the grounds to take part in the proceedings. Mr. Arthur Bromfield, a major benefactor, unveiled the memorial, and there was Peter Pan caught in flight. Below the statue were 4 bronze panels carrying scenes from the famous storyline. It was considered a fitting memorial to a great man and also testament to the fine work of Alfred Ellsworth, without whose effort none of this would have happened. In 1950, the year following the unveiling, the children of Mearnskirk presented Alf Ellsworth with a painting of the statue. Mearnskirk closed as a hospital in the 1990s when the ground was sold for housing. The Peter Pan statue was relocated opposite the new care home, which was built in the grounds, and there it stands today. Sadly, the 4 bronze panels from the original pedestal went missing during the process of relocation and were presumed lost forever.
I was quite surprised one day when I got a phone call out of the blue asking if I was a member of the Mearns History Group, and been told that one of the bronze plaques had come to light. I would like to go up and collect it. So up we went and collected the plaque and brought it down to our house and stuck it in the garage. I then phoned Anne Robertson, our secretary, and we had a committee meeting to see what we're going to do about it. The result of all this was that Anne contacted Ian Hutchison, a counsellor that she knew, and he in turn spoke to the Director of Education, who said yes, it would be a great idea if the plaque were put up in the Hazeldean nursery, and East Renfrewshire Council then organised the fixing of the plaque to the wall of the nursery. Anne, as our secretary, was then involved in a lot of work in organising the opening ceremony. This involved contacting people at Mr. Ellsworth, who was Alf Ellsworth's grandson, and various other people to come to the opening ceremony up at Hazeldean.
Invitations were sent out to attend the unveiling of the recited panel. Significantly, this was scheduled to take place on the 3rd of July 2007, exactly 58 years from the date of the unveiling of the original Peter Pan statue. About 60 invited guests turned out on the day to the Hazeldean nursery, which was the original administration building of Mearnskirk Hospital. The children from the nursery entered into the spirit of the event and came dressed as characters from Peter Pan.
Sean, can I see your face? Can you stick it out here? That's it.
Great. My name is Ian Hutchison. I'm acting as MC. I'm a long-serving retired councillor for the Mearns Ward area. And we have with us this afternoon everybody who, in fact, to be terribly honest, so many people wanted to come that had to be rationed, and that just showed you how interested everybody has been in the whole project since it really started. There's no formal introductions at this point in time, but what I'm going to do is ask Mr. Ellsworth here to unveil the plaque, which was part of the original Peter Pan statue.
I have a few words to say by way of background to today's events, but with the weather the way it is, we'll keep that till we move upstairs. So I'm going to move straight ahead to the unveiling of this missing plaque from the original statue.
Inside the nursery, the visitors were able to see the children's Peter Pan project, which had gained an East Renfrewshire Council Citizenship Award. Everyone then gathered upstairs to hear from the invited guests. Fred Ellsworth spoke of his grandfather Alf's promise to Dr. Wilson to erect a statue of Peter Pan in the grounds, and also his father Charles' work in having the statue relocated when the hospital closed. Shona Moore, the head teacher, highlighted the advantages of having a nursery amongst such pleasant surroundings as Mearnskirk and the opportunities that this presented.
We became very much involved with the Peter Pan project. The interest came from the children, and I think that was why it's been such a successful project for us. It's been a project which has won awards. It's been a project which has been written up by HMIE and by Learning and Teaching Scotland, because it's been such an exciting project for children. It's involved children learning and developing skills. They're only 3 and 4 years old, but the children have had opportunities to develop skills of listening, talking, investigation, ICT, literacy, numeracy, working together, having councils, taking minutes at council meetings, and most importantly, everything that we've done has been the children's decisions and their interpretation of what they would like to put back into this area under a Peter Pan project. And I think the children want to tell you about it. Would you like to stand up and we'll tell you our story of Peter Pan? From the 1940s, Peter Pan stood tall with his friends in the garden for one and all. But over the years they drifted away and Peter stood by himself every day.
I'm Peter Pan and I am sad. My friends have gone. Oh, it's really bad.
We saw Peter each day when we went for a walk. He knew of the past and we wished he could talk. We looked at books and photos too, and then we knew just what to do. To bring back his friends to their former glory was our project of citizenship, a magical story. And we hope you enjoyed the story we told.
Ray Mackenzie, a senior lecturer at Glasgow School of Art, in his address gave an insight into the life of the sculptor Alexander Proudfoot.
I became aware of the Peter Pan statue almost exactly a year ago, I think it was, and little did I know that it was going to draw me into an adventure almost as exciting as the one described by Jane Barry in the original Peter Pan play. And I think at this moment, now this has got to be the high point of it for me, finding myself among these incarnations of the Peter Pan characters, absolutely spellbinding.
Anne Robertson, the secretary of Mearns Local History Group, then spoke about the history surrounding Mearnskirk Hospital, the work of Dr. John Wilson OBE, and of the great philanthropic work of Alfred Ellsworth.
Testimony to that so many people who worked in the hospital wanted to be here today. I made 3 phone calls to people who had worked here and I got 68 names, and we were limited to 50 places. So quite a number of people were disappointed. It was a community whose ethos was shaped by the benevolence and dedication of Dr. Wilson and all who worked here, and by the generosity of Alf Ellsworth and the many, many people who gave so freely of their time, energy and resources to lighten the lives of the patients.
Ian Hutchison then rose to bring the day's events to a conclusion.
And one of the successes I've had, in fact, is really because of you. Because Anne said to me at one point in time, a year or 2 ago, about the plaque coming up. And I had the brilliant off-the-shoulder idea to say, well, why don't I speak to John Wilson to see if we can get it connected with Hazeldene Nursery School, because it struck me as the most appropriate thing to do. In tribute to John Wilson, it was a full council meeting. After the meeting was over, I suggested to him. There was not a moment's hesitation. He said, yes, of course, councillor, we will do that. What I didn't realise at the time, and you all know the phrase, out of small acorns, great oak trees doth grow. And I think, in tribute to you, thinking it was just a nice idea to have the panel at the nursery school. In fact, look what Shona and the children have done. You've had awards everywhere, and I think it's a tremendous effort. Thank you very much.
This had been an important day in securing another part of Newton Mearns history, and one in which the Mearns Local History Group were proud to have played such an important part.